Shut up and sit down.
Greetings, fellow travelers. Oblix here, and today I want to take just a second to talk to you about our Watch Gang Black Tier subscription for the month of May. Okay guys, before we get started, I want to take just a second, and if you're counting, that's 2 seconds I'm going to take of your time today, because I want to thank Just the Watch. I will put a link to his channel down below. Dave's a swell guy. He did an awesome thing in that he released a video today. For me it is Tuesday, and he showcased 4 channels that are showcasing watches but are smaller channels. Mine happened to be one of them, and I'm very appreciative of both Dave and his viewers who've already come over in droves and subscribed to the channel. I certainly appreciate each and every one of you guys. Definitely thank Dave for doing that, but most importantly, Dave's viewers, very much appreciated. So you guys are welcome. Absolutely appreciate having you here, and again, thank you, Dave. So we're going to take a look at this Brackett Chios, I think is how you say it. C-H-I-O-S. So I'm going to go with Chios. We'll rock with that. So this is our Watch Gang Black Tier subscription for the month of May. Now, Watch Gang Black Tier is a $100 blind subscription service. You don't know what you're going to get, what's going to show up in a box on your front door. You hand them $100, they show up with a watch. It is what it is. This is what we got for May. Now, this is the last of our 12-month subscription. I bought an entire year's worth, so this completes the year. We're going to do a wrap-up video here shortly of all 12 watches. We're going to take a look at everything we got for the year, pros and cons, and see if Watch Gang is really worth it, for a year's worth of investment. So look for that down the road, and let's get into this Brackett. So typical Brackett box. Now, I'm going to lay my bias out on the table, guys. I'm not a fan of this brand. Okay, right from the get-go, I'm just going to tell you I'm not a fan of the brand. I don't think it's fair for me to come out and sound all, puppies and lollipops and unicorns when it's not something I truly believe. So, I do have previous experience with Brackett. Previously, Watch Gang had sent us this Navi GLI, and I believe this was in December. Yeah, it was in December as our December Black Tier subscription. So we paid $100 for this. It's a pretty horrible watch, I gotta say. Very cheap feeling. The bracelet feels very cheap. It does have a Seiko, so kudos there. But just kind of a junk bracelet, kind of a try-hard looking watch, poor quality crown, lots of grit, nasties in it. And it left a bad taste in my mouth for the brand. But we're going to try to set that aside and give a fair review to this as best as I can, but I am throwing my bias out on the table from the get-go. So you get a cleaning cloth, you get a warranty card, as you always do. You get silica gel, because, yay, tasty. Now, got a few extra links, because I have sized this for my 7-inch wrist. Kind of a cheapo box. But here we go. This is the Chios. Alright, and here we go. Got you all zoomed in. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say it's not a terrible looking watch. We've got that stepped up dial. We've got some texture down here in the center. We've got the fairly flat ring around the edge, some applied indices, bar markers all the way around. We've got this kind of sunk-in bezel here. Now, there is no lume on the bezel, so those who like to time things at night, no go. You've got this oversized date window over here between the 2 o'clock and the 4 o'clock. Not a huge fan of these, but it's kind of one of those take it or leave it things. Some guys love it, some guys hate it. Take it for what it is. You've got some nice light blue accents, both around the date proper, and on the second hand itself. If we swing the watch around to the side, you'll see this kind of a curved case on the side. It actually ends up being fairly comfortable to wear from a case perspective. The bracelet, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the case itself is fairly reasonable. Take you around the other side, no sign, or barely signed crown, sorry, with the JB, but it's almost looks like a scratch just because of the way their logo is. But you got that kind of rounded off case, though. This side is not as round as this side. When you're feeling this side, it's much rounder. What I'm referring to is the shape right here, where it's rounded off this way. This side is milled out. It's much flatter. But there was an attempt made to round it. Now, it is all just brush. There's very little polish at all except up here on the bezel. Now, speaking of the bezel, we talked about that kind of sunk-in bezel. It's actually got a fairly decent ratchet to it. So I was quite impressed. For J. Brackett and their previous low-quality watch, this is actually not half bad. Good purchase on the edge over here, this semi-coin edge bezel. Now, this is all, according to their website, 316L stainless steel, and it does feel a lot more like stainless steel than the previous aforementioned Navi GLI. This guy does not feel like steel. It's very, very light, much lighter than this guy. Now, granted, this has a ratcheting bezel, this guy does not, so you would expect him to be slightly lighter, but he's a lot lighter in feel. And he just does not feel like stainless steel. He feels like an alloy. Aluminum or something like that. He's just not though aluminum's not actually an alloy. So a little bit better quality it feels, at least from the weight, on the bracelet itself. Now, it is just push pins all the way around, and as you can see, I pulled, to get it on my 7-inch wrist, I pulled about an inch out of links worth, only 2. Usually I get 3 out of a watch, so they're a little bit chintzy on their links, but they do need to keep it balanced so that this buckle winds up right on the back of your wrist, right over here. They don't want it off-centered like you could with a standard buckle and tang type setup. So again, it is running the Seiko NH35 movement. Let's pop this open and take a look, and I absolutely hate trying to open these on camera. I hate opening them when they're on my wrist without push bars. It's one of the things I can't stand on this bracelet, is the fact that there's no pushers on this guy. The fact that it's just friction fit and that's all you get. Just reeks of poor quality. It reeks of cost savings. So there's your Seiko NH35, and you do get a branded rotor on this guy. And it is 20 ATM water resistant. Now, no sapphire on this guy. It is sapphire coated mineral crystal on a light dome, a small dome, very little dome to it. You do get a slight bit of distortion as you swing that watch around. There we go, seeing it on camera there. Nothing to write home about. If you're a big fan of distortion, then it may not be the piece for you. But if distortion bugs you, then it may be more in your wheelhouse. So it is sapphire-coated mineral crystal. You guys know, you've heard me say it before. In my opinion, and I am no expert, but in my simple, humble opinion, that's a marketing ploy. They want that word sapphire to show up in the spec list to get you to buy it. In my real-world experience of banging into door jams and whatnot all day long, sapphire-coated mineral crystal is no harder than mineral crystal. They will both scratch just as easily. So, would I have liked to see sapphire, K1, Hardlex, something like that? Yeah, absolutely. But we didn't get it here. So, no need to test that. But let's go ahead and check out the weight. We'll break out the old scale. There we go, 6.2 ounces and 177 grams. So not super light, but not super heavy. Pretty much in a reasonable range for a diver. Now let's grab our calipers, and we're going to go across the bezel, and we're going to get, we'll call it 43, with the crown we're going to go, we'll call it 46. It's kissing 46. A lug to lug is going to be a 50. And thickness wise, you're looking at a 14.5. Now let's see if I can get in there and get those, the lug width. You're looking at a 22. So Dave over at Just the Watch commented on the unboxing of this watch that it reminded him, or it looked very similar to a Rolex Yachtmaster. You know, I kind of thought about it, and I actually went back and looked at some pictures of Yachtmasters, and I gotta agree with him. You don't see a lot of Yachtmasters out in the wild, or at least I don't. So I refreshed myself looking back at him, and he's right. Definitely in this bezel, absolutely is very Yachtmaster-esque. The case design is very Yachtmaster. Even down to the blue, for the Great Owl Yachtmaster has this blue second hand as well. So they are very reminiscent of it. Now, I'm not going to hold that against J. Brackett. I do think in today's day and age with so many different manufacturers over so many years, you know, we've been building watches forever, it's going to be really hard not to draw some inspiration from somebody in the past. At the very least, you may think you have a brilliant new idea, but it's something somebody else has already done. So I'm not going to hold that against him, but it absolutely looks like a Yachtmaster. If you're ever wanting to know what a Yachtmaster experience would be like, but not pay that much money, maybe this is something you could work with to see if you really want to step up to that $11,800 watch. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because this guy's MSRP is $425. Holy cow. What in the world are you people thinking? Now, as we all know, MSRPs on watches are drastically overinflated. J. Brackett is no different. But I'm sorry, this guy's not worth $425, not even in the ballpark. Now, we did pay $99 from Watch Gang. Now, there is a huge speculation on the Watch Gang exchange page about J. Brackett and Motor Time being watches produced, manufactured, and owned by Watch Gang. I don't necessarily agree with that, nor think it's true. I did mention this in the Motor Time review. I do think that potentially Watch Gang is funding the production of these watches, you know, working with J. Brackett, say, hey, build us a watch, keep it under this price point. We'd like to see this, this, and this on it. You know, you can cheap out here, here, and here, but don't cheap out here and here, that kind of thing. And getting these watches produced. Now, is that shady if it's true? Yeah, it is a little bit. I don't think any of us signed up to have a Watch Gang watch. Now, that's not to say there aren't guys that wouldn't want that, but none of us actually signed up for that. You know, we signed up to go get micro brands watches without Watch Gang's influence, or at least that was the impression that they left. So, shady could be considered. Some will absolutely consider it so, some won't. Take it or leave it. Is what it is. Do I think this watch is worth the $99 we spent on it? If you love the style, you could do a lot worse. It's definitely an improvement over the Navi GLI. J. Brackett has come a long way since that piece and some of their other pieces. They are improving, which is nice to see. They're definitely not there yet. You know, for $100, I could definitely go buy some better pieces from some more reputable brands. And that's probably where I would personally put my money. But, you know, like I said, if you really like the styling, it's got a decent movement. And, you know, that Seiko NH35 is bulletproof and, you know, been around forever. It's easy to maintain. It's easy to repair if needed. So you're not going to go wrong there. It's more if, you know, you're good with the quality and styling of the piece. If you are, hey, great. Rock on, brother. I'm not going to give you any fault. Love what you love. I'll love what I love. We'll meet in the middle somewhere. Now, let's get this guy on wrist real quick. Pop it on my 7-inch wrist. Now, remember, we pulled 2 links out of this guy to get it on my 7-inch wrist. So there is a little bit of play for an 8-inch wrist. But know that if you wear half sizes, if you're a 7.5, for example, you're going to have to put one of these links in. Therefore, this back piece is going to be a little bit off center on your wrist. That may cause these, I always have a hard time getting these off on camera, may cause these guys to dig into your wrist a little bit. So just know that, be conscientious of it before you jump into for you, maybe an expensive purchase. Always harder to do things on camera with your arms wrapped around a tripod, but made even worse by complicated clasp in the first place. So there we go, on my 7-inch wrist. It's a pretty good wrist filler. It does sit shallower than it actually is. It's much thicker than it actually appears on the wrist due to the curved case back down there. That does kind of sink down into your wrist there between the bones, and it rides a lot shallower than it really is. So could it fit under a suit cuff and stuff? Absolutely. Even though it's a little bit thicker piece because of the way it sits, it can absolutely ride under a suit cuff, a fitted shirt, things of that nature. Albeit one not super tailored. If you had a little bit of extra play in it, knowing you wear watches all the time, then you could definitely get away with it. I think it's more suitable to polos and t-shirts. Definitely a good beater watch. Something to wear with the kids to the beach when you don't want to wear your nice watch. If you know you're going to be popping it off at the pool, maybe taking it on and off or whatnot, and you just don't want to get it mangled, then this would be a good choice given the price point. Now, one of the things that lends credence to the fact that this is probably helped along by Watch Gang as far as being constructed is the fact that J. Brackett doesn't sell their watches anywhere but their own website. And not unheard of with a micro brand, but definitely a little bit unusual. You don't see it in any other watch shops. 3 places sell it: J. Brackett's website, Watch Gang, and eBay, now that a whole bunch of them have been put out in the wild by Watch Gang. I did find this piece for about $20 on eBay right now, as I'm looking at this. So if you're interested, it does come in several different colors besides the gray. So if you like something other than the gray, you could, but you like the styling, maybe check out some of the other colors. But I do think that's all the time I got for today. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me as we take a look at our Watch Gang Black Tier subscription for the month of May. Remember, we do have that 12 months worth of watches review coming up soon. We'll look at all 12 watches we got from the Watch Gang over the last year and see if Watch Gang's actually worth it or not. But I always appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me. And until next time, you guys get out there, make some noise. See ya.